everybody, I'm Neil Fu from Malaysia, and good afternoon and good Sunday afternoon of 19th of April 2020. Today is just more than a month of MCO, Movement Control Operation of Malaysia, which means it's the pandemic control in Malaysia. That I would like to talk about the topic of AirAsia versus Virgin Australia in the bailout of a pandemic crisis. Okay, let us start about Virgin Australia. That they are searching for the federal government of Australia for 1.4 billion Aussie dollars bailout, and this become big news, especially when this COVID-19 with the pandemic crisis that very much affected the airlines industry and also the tourism industry. People are stopped from moving in order to curb the spread of these disease, I would say, and most of the countries in the world are somehow rather in the lockdown condition, including in Malaysia. So with that also very much directly affect the sales turnover of the airline industry, that this caused Virgin Australia to look for a bailout of the federal government in order to keep them survive, because they have the financial constraint of running of the Australia, that they are also making a protest that they have to be rescued as well, because he say not even asking for 1.4 billion Aussie dollars, which means that Qantas, which is 3 times capacity or 3 times bigger than the sales turnover of Virgin Australia, therefore they are asking for at least 4 billion bailout, because their reasoning is if the government going to help their competitors, that they need to be. Australia has started all these rescue appeal, but the thing is, federal government they have two kind of voices. One of it is they say, since Virgin Australia is not the real local company, because they have so many stakeholders, so many shareholders, mainly from the airlines industry itself, that they can't use the Australian taxpayer money to rescue a foreign company. So that's why they are just put on hold. Only thing is the government still helping them with 165 million Aussie dollars to help both the airlines, Qantas and Virgin Australia, to make sure that the domestic flight is still in operation, because yes, the local flight, they just allowed to operate in order to carry. 2 days ago, Queensland government has announced that they decided to help Virgin Australia with the 200 million Aussie dollar as well, with the reason that with the condition that Virgin Australia have to keep their base at the airport of Brisbane, and also reasoning that they want to keep the employment for the 15,000 staff in Virgin Australia. And the third reasoning is they say that they have to keep at least 2 airlines operator, in which that Qantas and these Virgin Australia, to keep it in the competition, so that if anything happened to one of the airlines, just say if nobody going to rescue Virgin Australia, then the remaining airline operator will be Qantas, that they worry that the flight ticket or the cost for traveling will increase from to 25 to 30%. So I think it's a time they are still appealing to the federal government, that because with the state government they can't rescue Virgin Australia by themselves, they still need the big hand from the federal government. Okay, come back to about federal government, why they do not want to rescue Virgin Australia, simply because they have all these big guys behind, with their main shareholders is from Etihad Airlines with 21%, Etihad Airlines from Middle East, and also they have Singapore Airlines from Singapore with 20% stakeholding. Then they have from Nansan Airline from China with 20%, and also from Hainan Airlines from China, as well as Virgin Group themselves, right? So that's why the federal government saying that before their own shareholders that to render a rescue hand before they step in, because they have the obligation to do it. Especially with Singapore, that they are very much interested to come in to help, because since they have invested into Virgin Australia, that is really affected their share price, especially when Virgin Australia has a bad records of not making money for the past 7 consecutive years. That very much affected the share price of Singapore Airlines, in which their main shareholder is from Temasek Holding, that is a sovereign investment arm from Singapore itself. So that's why they are very much interested to rescue Virgin Australia. And talk about this Virgin Group, of course, owned by Richard Branson. But apparently for Virgin Australia, is the licensing to use the brand of Virgin. So Richard Branson's group, they are not involved in their management, and Richard Branson also still involved with their Virgin Atlantic in this part of the world. So, but only thing is, Richard Branson has offered his help by saying that the Virgin Australia do not have to pay for the licensing fee during this period of pandemic crisis. So, okay. And also beside these shareholders, there are 3 other airlines that mainly from China, from China Airlines, from China Eastern Airlines, and also the other airlines they're interested to look into participating in the bailout or in terms of the funding and financing to help Virgin Australia. So with that, that's why Virgin Australia is really looking for help to bail out, and there's effects that happening in Australia Airlines. Come back to about the AirAsia. Why I'm comparing with the AirAsia? Simply because the AirAsia founders, Tony Fernandez from Malaysia, he has founded AirAsia year 2000, and a bit of his background, because he's founded this AirAsia by taking over the then lost AirAsia operation with $1 US, and of course he got to take care of all the debts of the then AirAsia. So at that time they have two aircraft to start it with. So with the background of Tony Fernandez, that he has worked in UK before in Warner Music together with Sir Richard Branson. So Richard Branson was apparently his boss before, his superior before, that both involved with the music industry, and eventually Richard Branson also has founded Virgin Airlines in UK, and also doing very well in America. So I think very much with that inspiration and aspiration, Tony Fernandez, when he came back as entrepreneurs in Malaysia, so he decided to start this AirAsia into the aviation industry. So with that, that's why it's worth to have a comparison. Then again, so today's topic is just now we're talking about Virgin Australia looking for bailout. Is AirAsia looking for bailout as well? That he has told Malaysian government that AirAsia need not to be bailed out by the government or rescued by the government, simply because they still can run the business for themselves, especially with the 2.2 billion ringgit of cash in hand to keep them going for at least 12 months. 2.2 billion ringgit. So if go by USD, could be 500 million USD that they can keep them going. But only thing is he just told the government that I need not to be rescued, but I need extra cash flow by if you can give me a low interest funding, then it would be very much better. That's why finally these sovereign funds of Malaysia called Khazanah belongs to the government that has rendered those strategies that, comparing with Virgin Australia, I think AirAsia has been doing very well, since they have started, and then they have been ever, I think a few times that the best low-cost carrier operator in the world, awards winners for many years. And in Malaysia, he has Malaysia Airlines has a long history of Malaysia aviation since Malaysia independent. Airlines was under same organization, but after Singapore was kind of independent from Malaya, so they split. They become Singapore Airlines and Malaysia Airlines. So with that also, Malaysia Airlines has been a couple of times that the bailout in this time, and of course how the top management staff also, they have some reduction of their salary. So comparatively, these COVID pandemic crisis, they have done well. So I think the whole reason that today we are looking at AirAsia and the low cost budget carrier. So I think as said, for any enterprises, for any